Hello! Welcome to the Flute 360 podcast, where we incorporate a panoramic view of flute-related topics. I am your host, Heidi K. Begay, and this is a bonus episode, an interview with Glory St. Germain, an international best-selling author. Hey there! Welcome back to another Flute 360 podcast episode. I am so glad that you have tuned in. If you are listening to the audio portion right now, I want you to know that there is a video element as well. Glory and I are talking via Zoom, and you've been asking for video, and so we are delivering. If you would like to see us in action, then check out the Flute 360's channel via YouTube. Today's episode is super special for me because, one, my friend and colleague, Glory St. Germain, is here, and I cannot wait to dive into her career and start picking her brain. A little backstory, Glory and I met through the Ultimate Music Business Summit, which was hosted by Dr. Garrett Hope. If you are interested in next year's summit through UMBS, it's going to be held in January 2022, and you can go to musicsummit.biz. I bring this up because this is so crucial to today's episode and understanding how Glory and I met. This is something I keep preaching time and time again, and that's this notion of collaborate. Reach out to people who you admire and adore from afar. They are only one click away. I mean, literally, Glory is an author, a pianist, a teacher, a course creator. I mean, she does it all. And it's so easy for people like me to sit on the sidelines and go, oh my gosh, look at Glory. She's doing all of these wonderful things. I wish I could meet her, but she's just over there. That's not true. Literally, it's just an email where she and I went back and forth a couple times, and then a friendship was formed. And now we get to collaborate through her wonderful book series titled The Power of Why. So today's episode is all about that. We're going to talk about her career. We're going to talk about how she forged her career as being an entrepreneurial musician and her wonderful book series titled The Power of Why. Thank you, Glory, for being here.
Oh, thank you so much, Heidi. I am super excited and I'm so honored. Isn't it wonderful that we can connect with, fellow musicians around the globe and then find this common thread? And we just get so excited about the projects that we're working on. And congratulations becoming an international best-selling author in the Power of Why series with us. So I'm super excited for all the future things we're going to work on.
Oh my goodness, me too. And like I was saying earlier, relationships scale. I mean, we were attendees and participants through UMBS, and then a couple months later, it was an email, and then a month later, it was a phone call, and now we're working on a book together, and you
Absolutely.
just never know. Yeah. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you wholeheartedly from the bottom of my heart for seeing something special with the podcasting musician class, seeing something special in me and taking a chance on me to say, hey, Heidi, write this chapter. Come on, let's go. It's due tomorrow. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? And, you took a chance on me. And I want to say thank you for being a mentor and for being a friend who wanted to collaborate.
Yes. And, I really appreciate you not only writing your chapter, and you share so passionately about your journey as a musician and how you were created this podcast and your course to serve other musicians and help them, because sometimes it's just that little helping hand that gets us on the next step. And I absolutely loved when we had and if they haven't watched it yet, they can check out the video that we did where it was that Meet the Authors. And we got pretty deep in there, and it was pretty emotional when you really share your passion of why do you do what you do? It's not just about the money and the dollars. It's really about the passion of music and education and networking. And and I love what I do.
I can tell. Yeah. And the power of connection is so important for everyone's careers. And we can't do it alone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we just can't. So I gave a little brief background of your bio. Can you please dive in a little bit more of your musical and professional background for the listeners?
Yes, absolutely. Well, just quickly, I guess I started music lessons at a very young age, came from a musical family, started teaching at the age of 16. So at the age of 16, I became an entrepreneur and never looked back. So I've been self employed, my whole life. And I guess what held me back in my own education was the lack of knowledge and theory. It was frustrating for me. I used to give my students to somebody else. And after a while, you have two choices. As you know, Heidi, you either continue with your own education and develop that skill set, or you just go down the road and go get another little day job or something. So for me, I was like, you know what, go back to school. I received my ARCT from the Royal Conservatory of Music. And even at that point, realized I was still missing that theory component. So I became an author, not that I had planned on writing over 50 books now, but I wanted to help my students. And then eventually other teachers noticed like, hey, how come all your students are like scoring 100% on exams and doing so well? And so then I became a publisher. And that in itself is a huge undertaking, because writing a book is one thing, but writing a series is another thing, because you can't stop. You've made this decision, you're going to write. And I guess what happened after that was that I realized, well, now you've written a book series, but there was a lot of teachers like me that didn't feel confident about teaching theory. So that's when I realized, okay, I need to help them yet again. And that's when I created the Ultimate Music Theory certification course for teachers. And then last year when COVID hit and everybody was going, oh my gosh, now what do we do? I created the UMTC Elite Educator program, which is really to help musicians grow their teaching business. And that is our big signature program. And it's been so successful around the globe. So we're really excited about that.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I love how you bring us back to the start at 16 years old.
Yeah.
And, in our conversation that we had last week, this notion that I mentioned and shared was Rome was not built overnight.
Oh, yes.
And, it's a journey. And so thank you for taking us on or down your journey.
It's been a long one.
But it sounds like you wouldn't have changed it for the world.
No. And what's interesting about the journey, Heidi, is that anytime, and if you even think about going up to the top of the mountain, let's call that the summit. Going to the summit, and I'm a marathon runner, and I love doing all that. The road is not straight up. The road curves and winds, and there's a lot of bumps in the road. And sometimes you have to go down a little before you can climb back up again. And you need to accept that. And I mean, we all know as one door closes, another one opens. And if another one doesn't open, just crawl through the window, like just keep going. But I think that you have to accept that. And I am very much in the mindset of a growth mindset. I'm also an NLP practitioner. NLP is a neuro-linguistic practitioner. So I study learning styles, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learning styles. I study rapport building techniques, learning about submodalities. And all of that is what I teach inside our UMTC Elite Educator program. And if you don't have a growth mindset and are not open to learning, well, then you're probably just going to stay stuck in the old teaching treadmill of what you've always been doing. And if you're not successful and you don't know why, it's time to get a coach. And I'll be straight up with you, Heidi. How have I grown my business from, zero going down below zero to, the 6 figures, the 7 figures, because you keep getting a coach that's at a higher level than you are. And it's why I'm a coach inside our UMTC Lead Educator program in our membership. I love coaching. And the reason the teachers come into the coaching calls is there's immense value in the mindset strategies and tools that I share every single week in our membership. And those coaching calls are gold. And I know that because I love my coaches, and I have multiple coaches in my business for different reasons, but they all take you to the next level, and you can't do it alone. And it's not fun. And it's the same reason you created your course. It's not even fun. And why would you want to do all that when someone took 10 years just to create a course that you can just have it right now? And it's called modeling. Modeling is when you see someone who is successful And you have to think like you are that person.
Mm-hmm.
And when you take on that persona, then you have to think like you're already there. And I know when I started teaching, the old imposter syndrome, you just fake it till you make it. And I remember doing, every step of the way. First time I was teaching, first time I taught a group class, I remember them leaving my studio and me going, oh, I could teach group. Like, you just go through all these little emotions. And I always put myself, I've got a big goal set for this year. I don't want to reveal it because, you get nervous when you say things out loud, but I think I'm going to hit it, because I'm saying, yes, you're already there, right? What does it look like?
I love all of that, Glory. Thank you so much. There's so many gold nuggets in what you just shared. And the thing that from this conversation, it reminds me of Eric, my husband, who mentors me. And, I complain to him easily and say, I'm not a marketer. They didn't teach me marketing in school. He's like, well, emulate Amy Porterfield, emulate
Yes.
Nicole Ricardo. You're already it. Just start
Yes.
doing it and start copying them.
Yes.
It's like, oh, this is weird. I'm stepping into a new role. I'm putting on a new hat. But you're
Yes.
right. That's how you grow. And if you
Yes.
really want it bad enough, you're going to have to hone these different skill sets that perhaps you weren't taught earlier, but that's okay.
Yes. And you're really making me smile right now, Heidi, because, when you said, well, I'm not a marketer, I'm not this, I'm not that. And because I'm smiling because I do this little exercise with myself. And it's the same thing that you would do with your students. We're all, obviously musicians that are listening to your podcast. And when you hear a student say that, well, I really can't play that well. Well, I can't perform that. You would say, but what would it look like if you could? And then they're going to think about it and go, well, if I could, it would look like this. And I do the same thing with myself. I say, okay, this is what you want to achieve. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I can do that. But what if you could? Like, just if there was no obstacles, money was no option, time was no option, education was right there in front of you, what would it look like? And then you go, well, and then you step into that. And for me, that's been key in everything that I've done, even in creating the UMTC Lead Educator program. Hundreds, if not thousands of hours of research went into that course. I mean, it's a $20,000 value course. Anyone that would have given me that program, knowing that it would elevate, I'm not saying it is 20,000, I'm saying the value is that. And because it'll save you time. And yay for Eric.
Yeah. It's good to have those cheerleaders in your life.
Well, it's interesting. Since we're talking about husbands, so my husband is a professional entertainer. He's in the Canadian Country Music Hall of Fame, and he's had national television series for many, many years. And one of the things, and I was just sort of his little assistant in, making sure that everything was perfect with him. I also ran a video production company for 15 years. So I know about video production, framing, you can see I'm a little off center, like all those little things. But anyway,
oh, wow.
So one of the things that he used to share with me is that he would always watch himself on every TV show. And he said, it's not because I want to see myself, but it's because I want to improve my skill set. And if you don't watch yourself and don't love yourself, then no one else will either. So it's really important for musicians to know that it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's great to be recording, your performance and then look at it and watch it and be critical and notice things that you can do better. So.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Your world and my world kind of collide because my husband and I own a video audio production company.
Oh.
And, JK Media Productions started actually at the start of my doctoral program.
Wow.
And so it's been going on for about 6-7 years now. And just watching him, flourish under that umbrella and me assisting him with different gigs and setups and whatnot is really cool. I love working hand in hand with not only a business partner, but my life partner. It's really neat.
It is.
Yeah.
And I think too that, video production and musicianship just go hand in hand. I always felt like I had an advantage being a female, to be honest, because I always felt like I was maybe a little more sensitive. I was a little more fussy, like, is your hair okay? Is your collar straight? All those things in producing videos, as opposed to sometimes when my husband would be performing and I'd say, let me just fix your collar. And I thought, why are the camera guys and the producers not noticing this? Right? Because you want to look your best. So anyway, I think that's just why he brought me along. So.
No, you have so many talents, and that's why he brought you along. Oh, shoot. So let's go back to your class and let's talk a little bit more about what the class entails.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Ultimate Music Theory certification course and the UMTC Elite Educator program is really an opportunity for teachers to learn exactly how to teach music theory.
Mm.
So it's an online course and it includes all of the workbooks and all of the answer books. Everything is downloadable. We have educators in there from New Zealand, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Singapore, Hong Kong, the UK, US, Canada. I'm probably forgetting a few countries, and it is really taken on an international stage on its own, because no matter what instrument, whether you're teaching flute, whether you're a voice teacher, the educators that I mentioned from all these countries are teaching saxophone, violin, viola. They're teaching different instruments, but they all need to be teaching music theory. So I guess to finish, the answer to the question is, I really created this course to help teachers learn how to teach more effectively and to elevate their business. So it's about how to elevate your business, impact your teaching, and grow your expert music business. And we're having a lot of fun in there.
No, that's amazing. So, since we talked about your virtual class, taking a step back and thinking about your whole business portfolio, what
Yes.
other products, services, and offerings do you have coming in and out of your company?
Yes, absolutely. So we have the Ultimate Music Theory Workbook series, and there's over 50 books in the series. So this is all the way from beginner ABC workbooks all the way through the prep level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those are the supplemental workbooks, our prep 1, prep 2, basic, intermediate, advanced rudiments, our complete rudiments workbook. And we also have the complete rudiments course. So this is a course that goes with the complete rudiments workbook. And this one is for advanced learners, adult students. A lot of teachers have also taken that course. So we also have the Ultimate Music Theory app. That was 2 years of developing the Ultimate Music Theory app because it correlates to the workbooks. So if you are doing the basic rudiments workbook and you are on lesson 5 and it's about intervals, then you would go to your app and you would click on the deck number 5 that correlates to that. And it includes audio. And so every single note that you hear, that's me playing the keyboard. And we also have all the Italian terms and music history. And there's over 7,000 flashcards. And we partnered with Brainscape. They're our partner. And it's amazing. You can use it on your computer, your PC, your Android, your iPad, on any device at all. And it really is based on brain science. It's how you learn faster. So once you tap on the flashcard, and it's a self-study, the answer will pop up and you can, on a scale of 1 to 5, decide what it is. So if you go to ultimatemusictheory.com, and you will see it's on the homepage and you can click on it and learn more about it. So that's our app. Then we also have all kinds of other things. We have our Ultimate Music Theory whiteboards, which is, you can kind of see it peeking behind me if you're on the video. Our Solo and Tito stuffies, which are actually learning and teaching tools for our students, and multiple music theory games. We also have online games, lesson plans. I mean, you name it, it's your one-stop shop. And our games designer is Joanne Barker, and she's amazing. And Sheila McKibben-Uren is my editor. She's also my co-author on a number of books in the series. And speaking of book series, we also have the Power of Why series. So that's a collection of 5 anthologies with global authors that are sharing their stories. And I'm really proud of that project as well.
That's amazing. Thank you for going through all of those different offerings. That's so wonderful. And what I hear in that is, you have an app developer, an editor, right? A game developer, and you're putting these great minds together
Yes,
and teaming up, collaborating to
absolutely.
produce these wonderful projects.
Yes. Yes, you really need that. We are, as I said, we're a global company. Julie runs our team out of Dubai. So she takes care of all of the YouTube, social media. I mean, you name it, she's magical. She runs the team. So I just let her do her thing. My VA is from the Philippines, and Joanne's in Canada. So we kind of have people all over North America. Oh, and I can't forget our web developers. But anyway, we love each other, and our company culture is pretty amazing. The youngest member of our team started with me in piano lessons when she was about 4 years old, and she's now 24. She's working on her doctorate, and she said, "I'm forever going to be working for you, Glory, Miss Glory." She still calls me Miss Glory. And she was my student, went through every single book. She's done every book. She was there when Soul and Tito were developed. She's been through everything, every product, our t-shirt designs, clothing line, you name it. She's been there through everything. It's pretty fun.
Wow.
Yes.
So at what point in your company as the CEO, do you decide I need to back off on X department and delegate?
Yeah.
When do you decide to make that call?
It is such a good question. I want to just underline that, caps and bold. That is such a good question, because when you start writing, it's one thing, right? You're a teacher, but you need an editor. So I invested way too much money in an editor who was not really a musician. She was an editor. And I put out my first 3 books, basic, intermediate, and advanced. I thought I'd arrived, and they did well. And I sold books in Canada. Then I went to the US to the RPMDA, which is the retail print music dealers, and so on. And then I got an email from Sheila, and she said, "I love your books. They're like the best theory books on the planet. And if you ever need an editor, let me know." And I'm like, I do need an editor. And so she came on board. So for a while, a short while, it was the 2 of us. And then we realized we needed, drawing 5 lines on a piece of paper, and we developed the whiteboards. And then we said, we need an app. And so we reached out to Brainscape. Andrew is his name. He's the owner, CEO there. So it realized that if you're going to grow, you need to get a team. So then I brought on, my assistant. Well, Danica, she was my student. I said, "Hey, you're going to be working for me. I'm going to give you this and this to do." But it's important. And there's so many ways that you can, and I actually shared this in my coaching the other day. I said, look, if you don't have an assistant, you do now. You go to the oldest student that you teach, and you ask them if they would like to volunteer. Don't even pay them unless you want to get them a cup of tea or something, but ask them if they'd like to be a part of your journey. And, I'm sure that they would be excited. I had just about every one of my advanced students work for me at some point. But the only way that you can grow, and I think the one thing that you really tapped on, Heidi, is when you said, when do you let go? In the early days, I wrote every single blog. That's what I did. I was also writing blogs, writing books. And I realized that if I was going to be in the sales department, I couldn't be writing blogs. Okay. So Sheila said, well, I could write one. And it's really hard to let go because she writes completely differently than I do. Mm-hmm. The truth is, she's so much better than I am. I read her blogs, I go, oh, you're so good. So she's really owned it, but you have to let go and trust. There's no more micromanaging. When Julie says we're putting out this, you're a guest on the podcast, we're going to put it here. And I'm just like, yeah, you have to let go and trust that they're going to do that and wear that marketing hat. And I think the most important thing, and I've got to give kudos to your little hubby there, your honey bun, is that as an entrepreneur, and this is just my little 2 cents worth, the most important thing where you need to spend your time are 2 specific things. Number 1, continue your education to elevate yourself as a thought leader in the industry and to make sure that the company culture is growing. And you don't have to have 1,000 people working for you. Well, you can if you want to, but you need to have people. I've grown my team. I think we're 12 now. And Julie has more people that work with her and her team as well. The second thing is that you need to become a marketing expert, a guru. If you're going to do anything, marketing is, that's where you spend most of your time. And to me, that's the answer. Never hand off the marketing. Learn how to do that skill set. Learn to know the language. What is your story brand? Go get a professional picture done. And if you don't love seeing yourself on camera, too bad. You are the brand. And get used to it. Go get Photoshop. That's what I do.
Yeah. Or on Zoom, just, turn up that lever of...
yeah. You think I really look this good in person? Hell no.
Oh, no, you're gorgeous, Glory. Oh man. But no, you're right. You have to get very comfortable in front of a microphone. You have to
Oh,
get
yes.
very comfortable in front of a video camcorder
Yeah.
because video is not going away anytime
No.
soon. Look at what we're doing. I've been
Exactly.
podcasting for 3 years, and my podcast listeners have said, Heidi, we want to see video. It's like, all
Yes.
right, here we go.
Exactly. And I'm glad you shared that, Heidi, because when you're an entrepreneur, you need to, just as we listen to the music as we play it, you need to listen to what your customers are looking for. And as I was creating the UMTC Lead Educator program, I always do, well, here's what I do when I create courses. The first thing that I do is I create an outline. Then I sell the course before I write it. And I do it as a beta. And
Okay.
that way I'm getting feedback. I mean, obviously I've written the course. I taught it. I would write all week, like blinders on. I wrote all week. I would teach on Friday. Then I would get the feedback, tweak a few things, write the next week, tweak a few things. Then once you've taught it all the way through, and many of like all the people that were in the beta are still in the program, right? With me. And now I see them once a week in the coaching calls, but through their feedback, I was able to improve the program. And then it was like, okay, now we're going to, help the program grow. So don't create a course and then think that they will come, because it doesn't really happen that way. You need to do a beta course, teach it live on Zoom so that you get that feedback, know your customer, right? And then take it to the next level. So that's the only way. And that way they're paying you to write. Do you know what I mean? Like they pay for the course that you haven't written yet. I literally had 8 things written down on a piece of paper, and I was selling my course.
Wow.
8 topics. That's all I had. Pretty scary.
Oh my
Yep.
goodness. That is amazing. And what I love about that is you had a system
Yeah.
and you I love that idea too, blinders, because you can
Yeah.
get so wrapped up in like little fires here, putting out
Oh, yes.
fires there, emails, phone calls. You're like, nope, this is what I'm doing. Blinders
Yeah.
for a very good reason and for a very good cause. Create the class,
Yeah.
boom, tweak it, and do it again. I love that.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
only then that you can do on Evergreen. In the Ultimate Music Theory certification course, I taught it. Funny story on that one. Speaking, I don't know why I do this. I guess it's just I work better under pressure. I remember being at a teachers conference, and there was about 45 teachers in the room, and the topic of music theory came up. And I could see, I'm an NLP practitioner, so I like to sit at the back of the room and I observe. And when I watch a speaker, most people are taking notes down about what they're talking about, but I'm taking notes such as 3 minutes in, they told a joke. 4 minutes in, they moved across to the other side of the platform. Like I'm analyzing everything, right?
Wow.
Because that's how I learn. And then I see the audience shift but when the topic of music theory came up, I wasn't presenting. I had written my books, but I saw the body language of people just doing like, oh God, I hate theory, and I could see it. And then we're just breaking for coffee. And I just put my hand up and I said, can I just, in a small group of educators. And I said, can I just say something? And they went, yeah, go ahead, Glory. I said, I'm creating this Ultimate Music Theory certification course. I literally had a blank piece of paper. I said, I'm just going to pass it around. I put name, phone number, email. That was it. And just like, if anybody's interested, like I just had an idea, right? So I passed the piece of paper around and I thought, well, maybe I'll get 3 people, whatever. I'll kind of have them over in my studio right here. And I had 27 teachers sign up. And we were leaving the next day to go on holidays. And I told them I will be teaching this course in 30 days. So I would get up at 4:30 in the morning, go down to the hotel restaurant, order a pot of coffee. And I literally wrote the certification course, taught it live to 27 people as a 3-day live event. Sheila flew in. It was in Winnipeg here. And then we traveled all over North America from coast to coast, all the way from Halifax to Vancouver to California to Florida. We did the whole thing, Texas, you name it. And once that was done, and we did, I think, maybe 10 certification courses live. And I mean, by this time, all the materials were there and, they all got a big binder and so on. Then it was time to do it online, because now I had people contacting me from other countries saying, well, can you come here? And I was thinking, well, maybe I should just go to Australia. And I thought, I need to put this online. And that's when we did. And also it was good because what happens live versus online is that I could tell by day 3 of a live event, you're in that room for 12 hours, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You're exhausted.
Mm.
So having it online, you can go through the program at your own tempo and kind of spread it out. And there's no expense. You don't have to travel. You don't have to pay for hotel and food and accommodations and, whatever all else is, rent a car and you name it. So.
Wow. You are such a go-getter. I knew that about you, but then just hearing like you saw an opportunity, here's a piece of paper, write down,
Exactly.
and you just did it. And I think a lot of us, myself included, no judgment, it's so easy to have a creative project just sit on your mental shelf and you're just
Yes.
thinking about it. You just think about it, you mull it over, think, think, think. But at what point, like, you need to pull the trigger at some point.
Yes, you do.
And, if it just sits there, then that's all it's going to do is just be on the back burner. But the fact
Yes.
that, okay, this is not fancy. Here's a piece of paper, just rip it
Yes.
out of the notebook, pencil, pass it around, go.
Yes. And it was funny because when we launched our online course, I was actually out in Vancouver, Canada, and I was doing a presentation there in a retail store. They carry my books. And I did my presentation. And of course, they're there to purchase books in the retail store. But of course, I said, and we had the certification course and did my CTA, call to action, sign up, and I'll meet you at the back of the room. And you'll have to pay me directly for the course. But, obviously, you're paying the store for the books. Now, in my mind, I've never presented this before because it's the first time the course is online. So I'm thinking, well, nobody, right, is going to be signing up. So I'm packing up my laptop and I've got, when you're presenting, you got all kinds of stuff there. And someone came up to me and said, are you going to be long? Because there's a lineup of teachers that want to sign up for your course. And I turned around. I didn't have a credit card machine. What did I do? Piece of paper and, back to that again. And the retail manager came over and he goes, you weren't prepared for that, were you, Gloria? And I went, no, but I will be for next time. Yeah. So yeah, just do it. Just, what's the worst thing that can happen? They can hand you their credit cards and say, sign me up,
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Man, you're a good enroller. Those are some good conversion rates.
They are. I know. So last funny story, we talk about, you talk about marketing and we always talk about our close rate. So you sell to the room, what's your close rate? People say, well, 10% is good, 12, you're really good. And 20% at close rate is just almost unheard of. So I was doing a workshop and, I was on a tour and it wasn't very well marketed. This was not me. This is a retail chain store that I was doing. And I did 5 workshops in 3 days in 5 different cities. So it was intense. Drive. And I got to the last one. There was one person. And so, of course, I did my presentation to one, and they had seats for about 20 people. So it's kind of embarrassing. Mm-hmm. And anyway, the one person, before I even got to my last 4 slides, they said, oh yeah, I'm going to sign up. So I didn't bother with the last four slides, and she signed up, but she also became an advocate for the program. So even though there was only one person, it was super important. But the fun part was I got to call my son, and he's in marketing. And I said, yeah, you'll never believe this. I closed 100% of the room. He said, you did not. I said, oh, I did. And he goes, real? I said, wow, that's unheard of. How many people did you have? And I said, never mind. I closed 100%.
I love it.
So, you just got to appreciate those opportunities.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. Oh, man. So I'm going to pivot a little bit. We've talked about this some, but perhaps you have another gold nugget to offer us. So, with COVID and the pandemic and everything, right? We went down on shutdown and things were put on pause and a lot of in-person things came to a close, right?
Absolutely.
So I don't think technology and these remote opportunities are going away anytime soon.
No.
So with that in mind, what skill sets do you think that the 2021 musician needs to have in order to thrive in today's climate?
Yes. And, number one is you need to always have multiple streams of income.
Okay.
Because as a publisher in retail business, retail stores closed. And so there goes thousands of dollars in purchase orders a week to zero. well, is my business going to die? Well, if that's the only way I make money, I would have been in trouble. But it's not. I have online courses. I have this, I have that. So then you think, what can you do? Innovate. One of the workshops I present, Heidi, is called Innovate Your Teaching Business.
Mm.
And that's where I'm teaching you about how to have multiple streams of income. So if you're a musician, number one, embrace technology, as you said, not going away anytime soon, but collaborate, reach out to other authors. One of the elite educators that just signed up for our program yesterday, as a matter of fact, and she was speaking at a conference. She's from Australia, and she writes music theory books for strings. And she said, I'm signing up for your Elite Educator program because I know I'm going to learn from you. So don't be afraid to enroll in courses, learn from them. Same as yourself, Heidi. I mean, you're teaching, you're a musician, you've got a podcast, there's multiple streams of income coming into your business, and course creator. So I think you need to embrace the changes, and there's just more to come, and enjoy the process. For me, that's the biggest thing. I was doing a coaching call yesterday, actually. And I said to I was asking questions, and I said, and how would that make you feel? And she said, relieved. And I said, oh dear. All right, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. Now we're going to go through this. As a coach, I want you to have a different outcome, not relieved. You're going to be ecstatic. You're going to be so excited, because if you don't feel joy, then don't do it. If you don't get excited about teaching adults, then don't teach adults. Teach little kids, do what brings you joy. Live your beautiful life in whatever way is going to bring you joy. But take that step. Don't be afraid to, innovate your business, and whatever it takes, right? Because it's going to be change, and it's not going to end. So let's just keep going.
If it's not this thing, it's something else.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes. And adaptability is so crucial.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I agree with everything 110%. So piggybacking off of that, what's the best piece of advice that you can give a budding musicpreneur?
Well, I think the best piece of advice maybe comes in a couple of parts. Number one, write down your goals. Don't type them, write them down. When we engage in the act of writing, we retain 30 to 40% more than just through visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. So we need to write things down. Write down your goal. Envision what you want. Don't worry about how you're going to get there, how much it's going to cost. Just start with a goal. And then you need to work backwards, and you need to have results-focused, purpose-driven action plan. Okay. So you want to first know, what are the results that you want from this goal, right? So what is the results that you're going to focus on? And then the next thing you want to think about is what is your purpose, right? What's the purpose that's going to drive you to achieve that? And then finally, it's the massive action plan. What are you going to do to achieve that? I mean, that would be like a whole course in itself, but it's really about setting the goals and then working backwards, because sometimes we go, well, I should do this, and then I should do this, and that'll lead to that. But you know what? Let's think about going on a trip. You and I are going to go to Hawaii. Okay, we've chosen our destination. Now we're going to say, well, why are we going to Hawaii? Well, because it's beautiful. We're going to go get our bathing suits on. We're going to go to the beach. Okay, what action steps do we need to get there? Well, we need to book our flights, need to book a hotel. Okay, we did that. Now, what's the next thing? Well, now we need to pack our luggage. So really, when you think about it that way, it makes a lot of sense. So if you're thinking of creating anything, whether you're working on doing a concert, whether you want to write a book, take a course, whatever it might be, you need to start with the end goal, and then work backwards to define your action steps.
Wow. So reverse engineer it.
Always.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cool. I mean, when we even thought about doing you can see that I have 5 books, right? Well, actually, here's my little, which one will I? This is the one that you're in here, right?
The purple one, I believe.
The purple one. This is Heidi's book. Okay. So let's talk about that. Can you see? Well, our audience only listeners won't. But on the back of the book, you see 5 covers, correct?
Yes.
All right. So I'll share a little secret with you. The first thing that I do when I'm writing a book is I design the cover.
Okay.
And then I have the covers printed, even though, this is a real book now, but even before it was a real book, I just need the cover, because that drives me to write the content that's inside. And that's how I roll. So I actually have the covers for all the books. And it's really important for me to have that tangible thing in my hand, because then it'll drive me to complete that. So when you're thinking about something, you want to say, well, what is it going to look like? And we may as well do our little promo, because you need to get the book so you can read Heidi's story, because it's really powerful. It will move you. You can get them on Amazon. She is an international best-selling author, along with everyone else that's in the book, on the Power of Why 23 Musicians Crafted a Course. And it's awesome. So thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. Oh my goodness, Glory. Literally everything you just said, I need to be paying you like $1,000 right now for a coaching call. Seriously, y'all, there are so many gold nuggets in that. I mean, just holding it, seeing the end product, and then, stuffing in the ideas to fill it out. I mean, oh my goodness, goosebumps over here, like to the umpteenth degree.
Well, I think you just have it there. Even when you think about your course, can a book be created that can go with the course? Of course. Why not? This is just is another tool. I think sometimes, people will stop working on a project. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. I think it was in 2020. It was 2021. No, it was in 2019. I wrote 20 books that year, 20 music theory books. It was intense. All I did, and researched all of them, all the history, all the harmony, all the melody writing, all the components for 20 books, prep all the way through to the complete. It was intense. I finished those books on December the 23rd.
Wow.
20 books. And I remember talking to a dear friend of mine. He's a retailer. He purchases our books and sells them in their store. It's a national chain. And he said to me, and I was at a conference with him, and he said, please, Glory, just keep writing. He said, because very often people start on a series and then he said, I could tell you a million stories where people have this good intention of completing a series, but they never finish it. Like they start it, but they don't finish it. And so I literally had all the covers printed, and I put them up on my wall in my basement office, and I would stare at them, and I would see that finished product and know that I need to complete them. And even as you're looking here, I will share with you the ultimate little secret here. What book is this? This is our next book, where composers are now submitting their publications, right? So you can see the front and the back. So what is this?
Wow.
Just the cover.
Just the cover.
Yeah, but it's there for me to feel it and to know that this is coming out, next month. And so
now I'm curious, did somebody teach you that, or did you come across that process on your own? Like the cover trick?
You know what? That was just me. It's just, I really need to see I'm very visual. I want to give you one more little tidbit that I think anyone can benefit from. And I don't really know where I came up with this, or if someone taught it to me, and I don't really know. But my mother gave me this beautiful, beautiful glass vase that's all cut glass. Like, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's my favorite thing that my mother left me. And so in my office downstairs, and if you don't own sticky notes, go directly right now to your nearest little Staples and buy a bunch of sticky notes, and different colors and different sizes. And so on my board, I have a number of whiteboards in my office. I will write down, I'm working on books. I'm working on a TED Talk. I'm working on this. And then below that is what all the little things, then you break it down. And when I complete a task, such as writing a script or finding this, I'll take my sticky note and I fold it in half so it kind of sticks to itself, and I put it in this beautiful vase. And then at the end of the month, I see all these things, and some of them took an hour, and some of them took 2 weeks, and some of them will have taken me months and months to complete. But as you fill up that, because visually, it's very important for us to see success and celebrate everything. When I put a little sticky note in there, I am celebrating, girlfriend. I'm saying, woohoo! It's nothing more fun. And it's kind of like checking off a to-do list, except there's nothing tangible, like you can't see it. And I remember my young assistant, who's still working with me, Danica, the day that I said, I really need to empty the jar. And I said, can you videotape me? And I was almost in tears, because I was going to start, the jar again, and all these colors colorful tasks and things that I had completed came tumbling out, and we had finished, 20 books. And I went, oh my gosh, that was a day. Yeah,
Congratulations.
that was a big day.
Man, so inspirational. And that reminds me, I haven't told my listeners this, but every 2 weeks I participate in a mastermind. I get together with Cynthia and Austin and a couple other friends who are musicpreneurs.
Yes,
And we are very diligent and very intentional with our time. There is not, you know, blabbering or gossiping or catching up. It's literally like, what's
yes,
new and good? What's your one main pain point? And then we
yes,
popcorn around and help said person with what we would do.
yes.
And I share that because then we give each other an accountability list. And I say, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. And, from that week 1 of the month going to week 3, and I'll check in on that list. Sometimes, like days before the mastermind, I think, oh my gosh, I did nothing. I did nothing. And then I go back to that list and I start checking things off and writing next to it. And I go, gosh darn it, I did like 90% of the things that I said I
Yes.
was going to do. And you're right. If you don't actually see those successes and actually, give yourself a pat on the back and acknowledge those victories,
Mhm.
then, you could easily just say, oh, I didn't do enough. But in
Mhm.
actuality, you did.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think the key to running, having a mastermind like that as well is that it's an accountability.
Mm.
I shared earlier that I have number of accountability partners. One of my friends, who's now, I call her my very dear friend, Rachel, and she is a video producer who also has her own courses. And she's not a musician, but we're aligned. Well, actually through video production, but we meet every Monday. She's in Australia. Obviously I'm in Canada, but we just are accountability business partners. So
Okay.
it's a different level, right?
Yeah.
This is my number. This is okay. How is this going? How is this going? So it's never a conversation about music. It's a conversation about business.
Mm.
But whatever industry you're in, and for someone who's kind of interested in running a mastermind, or even if you're a musician and you're interested in jumping into a coaching call or whatever we're doing, you can simply go to teachumt.com. So it's teachumt.com, and that will get you to the membership page where you can read all about exactly what we do. And it doesn't matter what instrument you teach, or whether you're, a voice teacher or an instrumental teacher. It's worth just coming into. Even if you just jump in for one coaching call, you're definitely going to have more value than you even imagined. And it's just, like I said, I'm a researcher. I've done a lot of work in this, and I continue to learn. I think that's the key, is when you learn something, teach it, right?
Yep.
That's how you grow. That's the fastest way. Learn it and teach it. And it kind of solidifies that in your mind.
Yeah. Thank you for that resource.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So going back to the power of why, you've
Mhm.
mentioned, the launch date and where you can access the book, who's
Yes.
involved. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the listener about this particular book series?
Well, one of the powerful things, so, why the name is The Power of Why.
Mhm.
Why did I even bother? It's a lot of work, working with
Yeah.
our editor is in Scotland. Her name is Wendy, and Lisa. So Wendy H. Jones and Lisa McGrath are the editors that really go through the book and say, this chapter is not quite moving enough, so we can't include that. And they're the end. I leave that in their hands.
Okay.
It's not, that's their thing. So you're in the book because they loved your story. And we don't accept every chapter that is submitted, because we're only taking X number of author chapters. But I think the reason I created it was because oftentimes people have gone through the same thing that you've gone through, Heidi. They're either shy, or they're embarrassed, or they're not confident, or some of the stories will just blow you away. Some of them have been orphans in Indonesia. Some of them have, dealt with being adopted and never even knowing that they were adopted. Like there's all kinds of, and running away from home. And, there's stories there that will really move you to say, oh my gosh, and they did this? What's wrong
Mm,
with me? Like, I'm just sitting here talking about it or thinking about it, or, I should. Well, I should doesn't mean anything. You
yeah.
could and you would, and just jump in there, do it. So it's a really powerful book. And we had a lot of fun when we did the call with you, and everybody kind of got to share their story, and it was really moving. Yeah. And it's on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and just put in The Power of Why, 23 musicians crafted a course, you can see the interview with the authors.
Yeah. And I will definitely put the YouTube link in the show notes.
Okay,
So
perfect.
no worries there. Everyone can click with ease.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. So as we're wrapping up this amazing conversation, I don't want to leave you high and dry. Is there anything that you would like to share? Any last sentiments?
I think, well, first of all, I just want to say thank you, Heidi. It's very gracious of you to include me in your podcast. And I really am very grateful, because it's about reaching a new audience. And I'm sure there's many of your listeners and viewers that have never even heard of Glory Saint Germain or Ultimate Music Theory or the Elite Educator program or the UMT membership. So it's an opportunity to network. And that's what we've been talking about today.
Mhm.
So I think it's really gratitude and just teach with passion and play with passion. If you're not a teacher, an educator, but you're a musician, then just play with your whole heart.
Oh, I love it. Yes. And we thank you for all of your time, talents, and expertise coming into the show and pouring out your heart and knowledge into the listeners' earbuds. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Heidi.
Let's talk about Flute.